Hi everyone, good evening, and welcome to yet another keynote with the AIxDesign community. This time we are doing something different. We are exploring the intersection of AI and architecture. So, according to the UN, more than half of Earth's population lives in cities today, and more than 90% of future population growth will occur in cities. But how can this be done in a sustainable way? Architects and urban planners face many and often conflicting considerations like designing for energy, efficiency, good outdoor areas, reduced noise, and enough space and light for everyone. But how do creative users react to getting everything served by an AI tool? What happens to the creative process when you go from drawing to selecting and adjusting parameters? To shed light on all of this, we have Klara here. Klara is the head of design in an Oslo-based startup called Spacemaker. Spacemaker is a cloud-based AI software empowering teams to collaborate, analyze, and design real estate sites. She's a digital project designer with over 15 years of experience designing great products, specialized in both combining design processes with an agile mindset. And for the last 3 years, she has been using all her experiences to disrupt the way we design our cities, building both the Spacemaker product and organization from scratch. So, without any further ado, let me introduce Klara. Klara,
Hi,
stage is
everyone.
all yours.
Nice to meet you. It would be very nice. I've been doing this before with this digital format. If as many as possible actually had their camera on, so we could say that. Oh, very, very nice. I see some people. Oh, and I also then can see some reactions when I talk because I've done this before and it's like speaking in 30 minutes and just not knowing that everyone is listening feels, feels so strange. So I will follow your faces while I'm presenting and see if you actually understand what I do and what I'm saying. And also you can have some your questions or comments or discussions in the chat while I'm speaking. And Nadia and Avantika will check the chat and interrupt me if there is something that's relevant there and then, or we will take it then afterwards. We have a long Q&A afterwards. So now I will start. Now you said almost everything I should say in the start, Monica. So
Sorry about
maybe
that.
I could. Let's see here. And there, you see it. Good. Yes, my name is Klara Vatn, and I'm head of design in Spacemaker, as you said. And my talk is called From AI First to User First. And that is because I want to take you on a journey explaining what me and my company have learned designing an AI product that is actually in use by users. So what we learned during all this journey. But then first, some info about Spacemaker and the problem we want to solve. So Spacemaker is a Norwegian startup. It's founded in 2016. We're currently over 120 employees, and we are data scientists, architects, business people. Yeah, everyone's on sale and customer success and stuff, and developers and designers. And the architects are actually real architects, not like software architects. We're situated in Oslo, Stockholm, Boston, Helsinki, Paris, and Barcelona. And this autumn we got acquired by Autodesk. Maybe someone knows of the ones who doing a lot of software for building and manufacturing and media industry. Yeah, and all of us here, we are trying to solve one of the world biggest problem. And that is the situation that we are currently 7.7 billion people on the planet, and by 2020 there will be nearly 10 billion. And because of this mega trend we have, that will add another 2.5 billion people to the world's cities by 2050, because 90% of the future global population growth will take place in cities. This was a prediction made before COVID, so maybe COVID will affect this, but I still think the mega trend will still be there. So that means we have to build a city the size of Paris every week for the next 60 years. So how do we want to do that? We are facing two dilemmas. Number one, our cities are nowhere near ready to meet that urban explosion. And number two is climate change. And did you know that 40% of carbon emissions come from buildings? And on a global scale, the demand for energy keeps also growing. That means that sustainable urban development is one of the biggest global challenges today. So rapid global urbanization has led to larger and denser and also more complex real estate development projects all over the world. And the future cities cannot necessarily continue expanding in area because we want to avoid exploiting surrounding land, for instance. The animals and our vegetation has to be somewhere too, not only us humans, which means that growth has to be situated inside already existing city boundaries. And the result is that securing sustainable growth and then with good living qualities for everyone has become immensely complex. This complexity is a real pain for architects and developers today. They are faced with a multitude of competing and also often contradicting requirements, constraints, and preferences. For instance, access to sunlight might be coming from the same side as a source of noise, for example. Which one should you choose? And their challenge is to come up with solutions that kind of balances all this in a sustainable way. And as a result, the architects are able to explore only a handful of different solutions during a project. And it's simply too much to consider everything at the same time. It's like solving a 40 plus variable function, and the human mind is not constructed for that. But computers are. And this is where our solution comes in. Sorry. So initially, the Spacemaker product consisted of four main phases. We had the site where the user put constraints and preferences into the big O AI engine, which generates, analyze, and optimize billions of different solutions. And then the product sort of it sorts out the best ones, allowing the architects to discover a wide variety of different solutions. And finally, the user can look into detailed analysis of each solution. So from a user's perspective, or the UI, this was the product we first launched. You have the site, you have then input the map, the terrain, all parameters you want to test, and all relevant requirements. And then you hit the red button. We actually had a red button down in the right corner to run the AI. And then you can browse the solutions by filtering different qualities, what does best for the sun, what does best for noise, what is best for view or whatever. And then you can get then insight about the site itself and the possible architectural decisions through the solutions. And then and as I said before, you can then deep dive into a single solution with detailed statistics and different analysis. And then, the problem is solved, right? So are we designing better cities yet? Well, we realized that we hadn't completely cracked the code yet. So what's the problem now? Well, yes, because even though the machine is providing the best possible solutions, there's still a lot of them. There is simply not one best solution, because as I said before, it's like everything is a trade-off. And the machine is providing large sets of solutions with different qualities. And this is fantastic and all. And the level of insight here is quite amazing. But actually getting to that insight turned out to be difficult. Because navigating a huge data set can be really, really challenging. So what happened is that we have taken the users from a really complex problem space to another kind of complexity, to a really complex solution space. And it's still hard to get and comprehend all the insight. And we helped users to kind of open up and see the possibilities, but we didn't help them to narrow down. And they need more help in order to mature their preferences and make decisions. There were simply too many solutions, too much data. So what we realized is that we had a face first straight into the black box trap of AI. So I think those of you who have worked in the field of AI might have heard about the infamous AI black box, as you see it here, which basically means that people have a hard time understanding the inner workings of an AI, why it makes decisions and how it reaches its outcomes. We saw that our users try to kind of manipulate the AI to make it do as they want it to do. So they kind of, if I just change one parameters, if I set I want the buildings to be that wide, or I want it to be in a certain distance, maybe I will get the solution or concept I have in my head. Maybe it will show up. So they just wanted to do their craftsmanship and sort of. So in our case, it is not only about understanding what's happening inside the box, but also allowing our users to control and manipulate and interact with it in order to maintain creative control. Because yeah, guess what? Architects are visual, creative people, not completely unlike me and maybe you, designers. uh, and in our initial solution, users were inputting something in the beginning, and then magic would happen. They would then explore and navigate the outcome and study and evaluate the solutions. But there were no input interaction except in the very start. They were losing control further into the process. Um, so what we learned, that because architects and also other working in the tool, they are visual creative people, not and they needed to be more in control of the solution for getting the insight. For example, what happens with the SAM analysis? If I move this building here, will that be better or will it be worse? Get that tangible insight. Um, and if I add a building here, would it be better for the noise situations? Or so changing the physical form triggers a very different emotional and rational responses than numbers or the abstract visualizations we provided. So what we needed to change is that, like, we have to put the users firmly back in the driver's seat again. We have to move away from users providing input, trying to wrangle the AI in order for it to work its magic to their bidding, and instead have users exploring and interacting directly with solutions. With the AI working in the background. And harnessing its power to refine solutions, suggesting improvements or alternative. And always providing the user with relevant insight and nudging them towards a better decisions throughout their own process. So we're calling it having an AI on the shoulder. So you just figure out you're having this AI on the shoulder that can help you when you actually need it in your process. So we started to totally rebuild the product. So our current workflow is more influenced by the natural way architects work. It's like insight about the site and project, early exploration of ideas, where you also can draw yourself if you want to, and analysis and refinement of concepts, together also with other stakeholders, for example. And then organizing the project over time and handover and compare, and of course everything has to be done iteratively. You can go from one step to another, whatever you want in which time you want, going seamlessly between the different phases. So this is how it looks like in the tool right now. I would just show you a bit short film. You start with your site with getting automated surrounding data like terrain and surrounding buildings. Then you can either smart sketch like this, or sketch, or adjust yourself. Or you can let the system generate some seed proposals for you, and then iterate on different parts of the site and to see different options and solutions on the same problem. And after that, you can see all the different analysis. Here is noise and sun and and view to area and wind. The wind conditions on the site. And then you can let the AI set a desired mix of apartments and also change them, or let the AI adjust the heights of the buildings to get a better daylight in conditions. And also here set different functions on your site to get detailed numbers, uh, and to be able to compare the different solutions. So what we did then was we took this black box AI and we just cut it into pieces, small pieces that we then just use in different part of the product. And as you see here, there's some things with a little man here that the user do, and with the star is what the computer can help you with, and some of the things that the computer can help you with is like AI. So we just have to remember also that uh, computer can do a lot of things that is not AI that can help the user. So but what is AI, or what the little pieces we have from the AI is that you can we provide a context and relevant site of the data, and some of that is just that we provide the data, but also some of this is more machine learning based, or stuff we can find out for you. And also, of course, as you saw, we generate proposals as a starting point, different proposals, but then we have the user has more control of this generative design. And we do instant analysis that you can see. We use machine learning to predict noise situations, and so you can move a building and you get instant the noise situation after a change, for example. And we also do induce an assistive design help. So we can help you if we can point at this building. If you move that, the noise situation, for example, will get better. We also have then, as you saw, optimizations. We can optimize your heights, for example, for a given quality. And we also have been experimenting with challenging solutions. We haven't really nailed that one yet, so we will see if we we will continue with that. So our learning so far is we listened to the users and actually dared to change our first generation of the product. The second generation of Spacemaker has gotten much better feedback so far, and the architects and the developers are much more satisfied compared to the old workflow. And we are now, as I showed, taking Spacemaker out in the world. And it's still early and hard to generalize, but we believe that our learnings can also be relevant for other products and services working with AI. We don't want you to fall into the same black box AI trap as we did. With the current capabilities of artificial intelligence, the machine can calculate, analyze, and optimize much faster. But however, there are still many things that humans excel at. And in our case, it's creativity, identifying aesthetics, qualities, and some human intuition. And then by enabling a workflow that supports using the strength of both the end user and the AI, the synergy effect of both is so much higher than each of them alone. And so, yes, that is probably the learning of all this. What we've all learned at design school that we should always listen to the user when innovating. But I still want to emphasize that by the user first, setting putting the user first, I don't mean just give the user what they want. They might not be working like optimal today, and therefore we cannot just support their existing process. Then we get no innovation in the industry, and in our case, no innovation in how we design our cities for the future. So in our case, think about it, we are kind of developing a product that supports a process that is changing by the product we create. I know it's kind of meta, but hope you understand what I meant. In our case, and in all cases where innovation happens, you can listen to what the users say they want, but you have to find their underlying needs. And if we understand the problem and combines it with the opportunities the technologies provides, we will support them in a way that they have never thought of. So yeah, that's what we we learned, and I hope you have many questions or reflections, and maybe some of you have experienced the same thing, or yeah, let's discuss. I will stop sharing. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Klara, for sharing with us. It's really nice to see also like a real, a lot of generative design. It's often a bit gimmicky, maybe. It's just like, oh, let's make not necessarily gimmicky, but cool shapes and, interesting visuals. And I really like this being, like a very important problem solving thing with like physical presence in our world and infrastructure. So very cool to see. There's a bunch of questions on chat. I'm just gonna go through them. And we can see, so first question is from Luis, which is my ex-housemate. He's saying which kind of software. So that's obviously Spacemaker AI, but I think, so I know he's working as an architect, and I'm sure there's probably more people on the call being like, oh my God, this is crazy, this is gonna change everything. Where is Spacemaker AI now with the software, and when do you think there will be a public version or a beta, and like how can people get involved and sort of stay in the loop on developments after this talk?
Okay, yeah, we there is a product. So the software, if the question is what kind of software is used, then the software
well, of course,
is
Spacemaker,
called
but
Spacemaker.
yeah, is it
And that
already
is what we actually are selling and developing. And AI is also, of course, self-developed. The AI doing the background stuff. Sorry, my Siri just went on. Sorry. You can go to the website and ask for a trial where you can use it for, like, I don't know if it's 2 weeks or something. And also, if you're a developer, a real estate developer, you can you can buy it and use it for all your projects. And we're also working on provide it for more architects firm or together with the developer firm or stuff like that. But it's possible to get a trial.
Yeah, there's a public trial already. You don't have to like get in with your firm. So Luis, you can go play with that and see how that goes, and hopefully convince your firm to buy it later. Nice. Then we have a question from Iskander saying, I'm curious if the AI system is more helpful in the ideation process to quickly generate unexpected variants, or more for detailing, like the sunlight details, etc. So more towards, the earlier like exploratory phase, or more towards fine tuning. What are your first like experiences with that as people are starting to to really use the software?
I think it's really both, but in totally different ways. Because in the first starting phase, we see that because of the software that are available today, the architects are not doing a lot of concepts to checking them for different qualities or so. They maybe you draw something on a paper, but then you just sketch up maybe 3 or 4, and then you often design one of those concepts and develop further. So your opening up is is not very opening up.
It's like you're converging quite early.
Yeah, you convert quite early because it takes a lot of time to sketch up totally different concepts, and maybe the human mind is not that good of thinking of all the possibilities either, but that the computers are. So I think that is it's a very good way to being kind of a brainstorming machine, and then the user can think, oh, I see something in this solution, and they can take that further to make it more buildable or realistic or whatever. But I also think that optimizing a small where you have set the concept more, and just finding like tuning and trying to find a better solution, getting better qualities from out of what you have. We have seen that in a lot of projects that it gives a lot of value.
Are there any specific things that like humans tend to sort of not notice maybe and the AI spots them? Like, are there specific patterns to the types of things that the system, makes suggestions on?
Yeah, I would say the other way around, that the humans are very uh, looks for patterns, and especially if you look at a site from above, which you never do
Yeah,
in real life, then the human mind are very aware if something's not in line or the pattern is wrong or something, then you instinctively want to do it, or set it on the line or anything to make a pattern, even though that might be not be so good for some quality you want to obtain.
yeah. It's like overfitting for the drone view, which is
Yeah.
not something your people will ever have a problem.
Yeah.
Nice. That's a funny insight actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. And because your background's in UX as well, so I can imagine, yeah, hearing this also as a designer, you're like, actually, it doesn't make too much sense that you're designing from a completely different view that people are experiencing it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, funny. Nice. Thank you for answering that. We have the next question from Kwan. What was the process of deciding which type of visualizations to use in the analysis part? So like the more in-depth, solution sort of exploring. How did you arrive at those? And are there any references around that, sort of like research or big, projects around that?
Yeah, we have used to spend a lot of time finding, but just finding, for example, the color scheme for noise and for all the as you saw, we have like this visualization for each of the qualities, and we set a rule that there should never be the same color scheme. So we had to find unique color scheme for every analysis, because sometimes you can see, for example, the architects use these pictures for presentations, and then I think it's important that you know what you look at So if you see a picture, you know it's noise analysis you see. If you see another and you see another color scheme, you know it's the daylight analysis. So we spend a lot of time finding these colors, and also a lot of time to finding this color that is okay for colorblind. So you also still see the differences what do you call it, saturation and stuff for
Yeah, the
color
contrast.
blindness.
Yeah.
So it's hard to, I don't know how many more analysis we can have with their own color scheme.
Yeah, maybe your system can invent some new colors.
Yeah, that's true. And the next question was, yeah, if we have some research on the physical aspects. I don't really get that question, I think.
Juan, do you want to elaborate, or shall we?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I just unmuted myself. Hope that's okay. Yes. So you showed some slides at the beginning on where instead of displaying on more like 2D levels, you switched to 3D, and then you mentioned that you noticed that there was some impact, some influence on how people perceive it, and that it was like, yeah, more what is the word? Yeah, it seems to be the preference. So I was wondering if you if there was some like research done on that, and
If that they prefer the 3D.
yeah,
3D
and like just yeah, for the experience overall, user.
Yeah, I think the in the most parts of our products, it makes most sense working in a 3D environment, but we still have some parts where it makes more sense to work with 2D and see the yeah, it's because it's more efficient to work that way. But I think the architect always has to be able to see it, and we also have been experimenting with more this what do you call it? Yeah, when you stand on the street and look at that in that way, or you can stand on the balcony and look at it that way. And we have also experimenting with VR and AR and stuff like that, but it's not that we have been focusing on it.
Okay.
I don't know if I answered your question, but I answered one question.
Yeah, yeah, it's good to know. Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Nice. We'll move on. I have a question here, which I'm not sure what it means, but I don't know much about architecture. So let's see if it makes sense to you. So it says, what sort of models can be imported, and to what extent could we explore those models in the app? So I don't know if those are machine learning models or architectural models or like super models.
It's probably architectural models, I assume.
That's what I'm thinking.
Sorry, yeah, just to clarify.
Sorry, now my series talking again. We can import different kind of models like IFC and other types. You have to convert them a bit, but we have also been experimenting with more seamless integration with other programs. So we can import, and you can do the analysis even though you have done your model in a different program.
Nice, good. Does that answer your question, Day, or did you want to elaborate?
Yeah, could I just have a follow-up question on that?
Yeah.
So, because normally the models that we have, for example, as architects, maybe it's it's not only volumes. Maybe the model is a little more detailed. So, in terms of the more detailed models, would the system be able to actually, detect all of those how do you call it, like the curves and all that, so that the system will, for example, if we're talking about wind analysis, right? So will the system be able to detect that model because it's not exactly, just a cube. If that makes any sense.
It's actually differences between the different analysis. So for some analysis, for example, for sun, we can analyze, we can make it function for all curved surface and stuff, and other more heavy analysis, as for example noise, which is a very heavy analysis. We have to be more restricted in what kind of geometry we can analyze. And then we have several things in between there, but they are the sun easy, noise very hard.
All right, thank you.
Nice, thanks. I think that links to this question as well, from Luis, asking whether you're already developing add-ons that can be integrated in existing architecture software. So rather than bringing the models into Spacemaker AI, bringing Spacemaker AI into other architectural software. He's saying here Revit and ArchiCAD as examples. Is that something you guys are exploring as well?
Yeah, we are exploring, and especially now after we were required by Autodesk, it's a bit easier because we are kind of in the same environment and ecosystem, but we are not only looking at Autodesk product, we also look at like the total ecosystem, but we haven't found out what's because all integration, and you probably know, is very, very hard, so we don't know in which way is the best way to integrate yet, but we are exploring. Yes.
Nice. Yeah, one thing at a time also.
Yeah. We want to do our product very good first.
Yeah, I get that. I have a question, like, what are you currently working on in terms of the product itself that you're most excited about, or that you find a really interesting problem to solve?
Yes, there are several things. There's a lot of automation and shareability that will just make the process itself more easy to work with. And when you do something once, that you can do it a lot of times again, or you can reuse geometries, or you can reuse work you have done. I think that is really, really exciting. And I also think just now we are changing the total navigation of so for me as a UX designer, it's really exciting to make we are getting the explorative part closer into the manual part. So it will feel even more like AI on the shoulder. Yeah, so you will do some exploration, and you do your manual, you do your exploration, and that will have a very, very seamless experience. So that I think as a UX designer, it's very, very exciting. And also getting the seed generations, as I said, better and better. I mean, you could do that that will never be good enough. So there is a never-ending exploration how to make that just the quality of the things we are suggesting better and better and better.
Yeah, nice. I always like just asking that, like, what are you excited? Like, what's next? What are you working on? That's on your mind. And actually something you mentioned sort of ties into this question as well, which is, does the user know as they're interacting with the software, whether it's fueled by AI or not? Or I guess the part, so you were saying also before, it had the little person icon or like the little star icon, depending on, whether it's sort of manual or like assisted. How does that work? And how are you currently thinking about that, whether to explicitly state something is AI or not? and yeah, sort of informing the user about where these things are coming from.
Yeah, that's funny because that gets less and less important the more you use the product. What's actually people are most interested in the AI part, like in the first, like in the first impression, or you want to test it, and then when you actually use it, you're more into, is this efficient for me? Is it helping me in my everyday work? And you don't care if it's AR, or if it's just rule based, or if it's just the computer help you with this, or you can just find it yourself, or whatever. You don't care. So I think, yeah, right now we use the AI where it's where it's good to use AI, and we use the technology that is sufficient for solving users' problems.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It doesn't matter where it comes from, whether it's a, basic rule-based or like some very complex neural network. If it gives you what you need, it's if it's helpful for your process, then that's obviously the important thing.
Yeah, and of course we have people at our teams that are really good at these things. So just thinking and being creative together with them, of course that helps. Then they can say that, oh, but we can do this. Oh, I couldn't think of that was something we could do. So of course that helps a lot.
Yeah, is the team what is the team sort of made out of, like, as a quick, as a, like, draw me a pie chart?
Yeah, of course we have a very large product team. So of course we have this sales organization and customer success organization as well, but the main part is still the product organization, and we are divided into autonomous teams that where we have one or two designers and some developers, and often an architect, and data scientists who work together to solve their part of the problem in the product. So it's very iterative and autonomous team.
Like multidisciplinary. And was it because you're head of design? Were you like one of the founders, or did you join a bit later?
I joined like a year later. I was number 10, and I was the first designer. So in the start, I did like everything.
Yeah,
Also,
I would love to hear a bit about that
PowerPoint presentations and and physical things, and but soon we got a digital designer too, and we really started to get and design the product from scratch then. So when I started in Spacemaker, there were not a product that the user could use.
Yeah, it's often like
so
that.
It was mostly just this AI and some results, and we could provide like our customers with those results, but it wasn't really self-service product.
And what made you, because your background's like design and UX, so what made you, interview there, and they're like, we have this amazing, machine learning system, but you can't really, we don't have an interface. What made you go like, oh, that's a fun challenge, I'll go work on that? Like from a design point of view.
I think the sentence that got me on the hook. What do you call? Well, I was that they said that the machine actually placed the buildings like trees in the wood. So if it was good conditions for a building, it places it there like a tree. If it's a lot of sun and not much wind, and not a lot of other trees around it, it will grow tall. And if it's less better, it will grow small. And I just, it was an analogy that I just, and I was like, yes, I wanted to explore this and bring that to kind of thinking to the humans. But then I saw that you had to combine it with the human insight then.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, nature is just the ultimate designer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like the most powerful algorithm. Yeah. Nice. Okay, let me see a few more questions. There's quite a few, so I might have to pick. Where humans' way of doing things. I like this one. So Naja saw in one of the Spacemaker surveys that you're planning to like cover topics like energy efficiency as well in the designs. Can you tell us a bit more about that? And like where that is and what the ideas for that are?
Yeah, we are looking at the embodied carbon in different ways, and how to show that or visualize that, and also see when and how that analysis is important, and how then you could react to it also. And I don't know if I could say all this, but I think I could say that placement of solar panels and stuff is that is me as a designer can say quite easy to get. I don't know if the data scientists are agreeing with me, but so we are looking into a lot of sustainability analysis, also you call it UTCI, like I think it is, or UCTI. Help me, someone. Where you have this, you can get these heat islands in cities because of the material of the asphalt and close environments. You get this really hot heat islands that are hotter than the actually the weather or weather conditions right now. And so you can predict that. And we also look into stormwater and see the effects of placing your buildings and stormwater conditions. So there are some of the sustainability aspects, but I would also say that building buildings with good qualities, like sun and other like very basic qualities, is also a sustainability thing. Because then you don't have to, maybe you don't have to build another building or whatever in 40 years, or if that could stand for 100 years, that is a really good sustainability investment. And also getting more area out, but with the same amount of qualities, is also a sustainability thing. So you get a denser city, it's more environmental friendly city. So if you could do it very dense but with good qualities, that's what we are striving for.
Yeah, nice, thanks. Let's see some more. Have you used some construction norms and standards to generate the different shapes of the buildings, or do you use only the input information from architects, like height and area? So yeah, how does it make sense of how to create these like 3D geometric suggestions?
Well, we have some default input that we use that is like kind of standard, but the user can also use their own standards. So if they know that they always build 12 meters wide houses, you can just generate that or stuff. And also you can set some other settings that if you set for inner walls or how you want to calculate your area metrics and stuff like that, you can customize that.
Nice. How about like more aesthetic qualities? Like, I don't know whether you like, very pointy shapes or more round, whatever. Like if you like, sort of more like an architecture also has a style sometimes, and especially, of course, the more famous one, probably pretty outspoken styles. Is there some setting for that as well?
Right now, actually, we just support volumes. So we actually don't support pitched roofs, for example. Yeah. It's something we're working on. So it's not right now. It's more like an early phase that you check out your design, but you're not actually doing the final design. You're exploring. You call it volume studies in the architectural world. So the aesthetics is not something that we care about actually in this state. As you know, it's like white boxes. So you have to
wireframe.
Yeah, it's like a wireframe.
And
Thank
you
you.
Add little rounded things and shadows later. Yeah, and your color schemes and whatever.
Yeah, of course. But still, we want to explore the getting more details and stuff too. But
yeah, of course,
right
it's early stage and the options are infinite.
We're trying to do this stage, early stage phase as good as we can first.
No, it's really exciting. Of course, like as you're hearing about this, and especially someone that doesn't know almost anything about architecture, you get these ideas. You're just like, oh, you could do crazy things with this. But of course, it's it's quite complex. So step by step. But it's really really promising. Let me see. So we'll round up. I'm gonna see if there's any questions. Oh, this is an interesting one, actually, like technical, but very interesting, like legislation. So like, obviously there's different standards in different like countries, regions, etc. Can the system like take that into account?
We have, so if you have your site in one country, we have some, then you get specific types of analysis for that country. We know there are that they differ quite much. For example, a sun analysis could be different. What you're interested in, is it sun per facade, or is it sun per hour per area, or whatever? It differs between countries. We try to differentiate there, but then we also have something that we call constraints. So you can that you can make yourself. You can add to your product, and then you can see, for example, that you're not allowed in some countries. You're not allowed to build too close. If this building is so high, you can just build so many meters from that and stuff. You can add that into the product, and then you can see if you what do you call it, fail these constraints, or if you validate these constraints. So that you can do yourself.
That's great, because I can imagine as an architect, like this is not the most exciting part of your job.
No. So that is like automation and making your life easier.
Exactly. And so you can use your human brain for more human tasks than reading legislation documents. Nice. Let's see, I have one unofficial question. I know there's someone on the call that would love to intern with Spacemaker. Is that something you guys are open to? Are you?
We are discussing if we are going to do some interns this summer, or like interns also other parts of the years. But you can send me an email or apply through the website and say that it's internship you're interested in. I think that is the easiest way, and then we haven't actually decided. We should have maybe before this so I could have a clear answer, but sorry.
No, that's fine. That is a clear answer. So Ekaterina, you know what to do. Send an email and then wait for it.
Yeah, or through our website, it's easier. Or I get all these emails, and I'm not very good at reading and answering emails.
No worries. You have other things.
I think it's better.
Perfect. Great. Okay, then Fatika, I'll hand over to you to wrap it up.
Awesome. I have one last question that I received as a direct message here. So the question is, as you are now part of the Autodesk family, how do you think the development of Spacemaker will deal with the presence of other generative products in the Autodesk portfolio, Refinery, for example?
Oh, I hope we can learn from each other. Because they've probably learned a lot, and we have, as you heard, learned a lot. We're newly acquired, so we haven't really got into these deep discussions yet. But still, I think, and of course, we want to learn from not only Autodesk products either. But still, right now we are a Spacemaker and trying to develop that, and then we see slowly how the ecosystem will evolve and what you do where. I can't answer that yet.
No worries, but thank you for that. Exciting times ahead then for you. But apart from that, thank you so much for coming here and joining us and shedding light on what you do at Spacemaker. This has truly been really, really educational. And I love the whole AI on the shoulder aspect, because you don't kind of think about it that way. And so that was really interesting to see. But for everyone else here, thank you so much for joining us. It was really nice to see some familiar faces again. And Klara, thanks again so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much. Nice meeting you.
Nice. Thank you, Klara. And shameless plug for everyone else. Find us on social media. Come hang out for more future events and lots of other nerdy, designy stuff to come. And Klara, thank you so much for sharing your time and your learnings. And let's do this again in like 3 years and see what's Spacemaker again. I'm gonna keep an eye out to see developments. Nice. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.